press review this morning. And with me here is a gentleman that will be analyzing the papers and the news making rounds on ABS website this morning. We want to welcome Dominic Okabwe to ABS this morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
Okabwe.
Mr. Ajushiku. Good morning, Nigerians. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having Okabwe sitting next to Okabwe, discussing what we have on the national dailies. But then let's begin with news making rounds on ABS website. And the first news we have is Anambra at 34, state has accelerated much faster under ABGA's 19 years. That's coming from Soludo. Anambra State Assembly passes Igbo Apprenticeship Bill. ASUBEB 2025 Annual Leadership Retreat. Participants urged to leverage technological skills for better service delivery. IG Awowo Health and Academic Foundation holds 4th Education Seminar at Unizik, Oka. 4,722 people kidnapped in Nigeria, over 2.5 billion ransom paid in 1 year. That's coming as reports. And then on the football sporting scene, the Champions League draw for 2025-2026 season will take place today. So we'll get to know who the defending champions will be slugging it out in defense of their title. That's talking about PSG of France. Quickly, let's talk. Anambra is 34 years, and our state governor, Mr. Charlie Wambwafo, says Anambra has really accelerated under ABGA in the 19 years ABGA seems to have been at the helms of affairs in the state. What's your take on that?
Yes, I think I concur with the position of Mr. Governor, who said that the state has recorded accelerated development under the ABGA leadership. You see, 19 years is not a day.
Yeah.
Any marriage that lasted for 19 good years, that marriage is a good one. So the marriage the ABGA government had within the Anambra is a marriage that is built on trust, marriage that is built on commitment, marriage that is built on sincerity of purpose. You see, I've seen situations where a party will come in, the next election, the people will vote that party out. But the ABGA government, since inception, has continued to maintain, great, part, has kept its part with the people. And that is why you can see the level of progress from P2B to Obiano, from Obiano to the current solution of our time. Do you understand? Yes, there was a time it was catastrophic during the PDP era. That is when we used to record zero allocations and political tussle between the godfathers and godson. But since the ABGA government came in 2006, it has continued to deliver the dividends of democracy to the people. So I congratulate Indian Anambra, I congratulate Mr. Governor, and I congratulate, our various institutions who have contributed immensely towards the peace and tranquility we are recording in the state for 34 years.
While we are congratulating Anambra, ABGA, and its entirety, Nigerians seem to be worried and wallowing in, let's say, the absence of security. Because this story here, 4,722 people are kidnapped in Nigeria, over 2.5 billion as ransom paid. That's in 1 year.
Yes.
That's staggering.
It's a serious issue of concern. The issue of security in Nigeria is a threat to our collective well-being. Let us be frank. The federal government has a lot to do to checkmate the current security situation in the country. Nobody is happy hearing that such a huge number of persons were kidnapped, and you see money running into trillions. You see, when the cashless policy came into play, that was in 2023. I think part of the reasons why that policy came in was to limit the flow of cash. And it was also targeted on, trying to see how they can stop access to cash for these kidnappers. But you see that our politicians need money to execute the election. Even the current president didn't support
the cashless
that policy. So we don't know. I think we need, we are still searching for the best option to deal with the situation. What I think is that issues that has to do with security should be taken seriously. And that's why I will continue to commend the governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chuma Soludo, who do not rely only on the federal government security architecture. He adopted the Dugashi and the Abune Chamber to support the federal government security agencies in checkmating crime. I think other state governments should emulate that, because if every state in Nigeria is safeguarded, the Nigerians as a state will equally be safeguarded.
Thank you so much. Let's delve into the papers this morning, starting with the Daily Times newspaper. That's our first paper. Train derailment. We can't dismiss any late. That's coming from Okpeifa. And then we have here 239 first-class lecturers quit Unilag over poor pay. That's coming from ex-VC, as he reveals. And then we have in here too, lawyers, security chiefs clash at NBA annual conference. That you can find on page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. Review of Nigeria's laws vital for good governance, survival of democracy. That's coming from the AGF. Nigeria High Commission in UK not involved in extortion. That's coming from CAN UK. And also we have here NLC to federal government, inaugurate PENCOM board immediately. That's interesting. And then we have Tinubu applauds capital market boom as market value hits 72 trillion naira. That's all we have for you on the front page of the Daily Times newspaper. Quickly, let's delve in and see what the Punch has for us this morning, with the banner headline of the Punch screaming, strike threat. ASU, VCs decry props 525,000 monthly pay. And then says, don't insist on salary review as senior lecturers earn 386K. Education Labour Ministers meet today. Wow. Jonathan demands credible INEC chair. Decries defection. That you can find on the mast of the Punch newspaper. Also there on the mast, we have federal government net 393 billion naira tax from Dangote, 9 orders. Wow. APC mocks ADC over chairmanship tussle. And then we have here jailed monarch Osun to obtain U.S. court judgment. A Lagos man killed in fight, suspect arrested. And then we have Nigerians spent 1.3 trillion naira on petrol in June. And that's all we have for you on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Quickly, let's see. These two stories are tied. The 239 first-class lecturers quitting Unilag, and then ASU and the VCs decrying that 525,000 naira.
You see, I don't know when this loggerhead between the ASU and the federal government come to an end. It is becoming so bureaucratic and even laborious. You see, most times I wonder why our government doesn't take issues that has to do with the welfare of lecturers in the universities. I don't know why they take it on serious. You see, there is this proposal the federal government came up with. They call it Tertiary Institution Staff Support Fund. Do you understand? And ASU said, no, we don't need the support fund. TISSF, Tertiary Institution Staff Support Fund. Instead of this support,
that should cover both the non-teaching and the lecturers.
Instead of giving us this, why not concord to the agreement we had in 2009? That is ASU Federal Government Agreement Structure, Salary Structure, 2009. You see, recently I read where the federal government is proposing for to increase the salaries of political office holders.
Yeah, political. That was last week.
And for me, I think this is insensitive. This is not what we should be talking about. Making political office holder offices lucrative, okay, does not align with what, the tenets of democracy.
The last review before they talked about it was in 2020. So they said 5 years after the last review.
5 years after. Now check the cost of living 5 years ago. Was it obtainable today? So I think federal government need to sit down with ASU and see how they can resolve this issue. ASU also should be, should also be considerate during the negotiation. They had a protest on Tuesday. They concluded the protest that was Tuesday, and they said the next line of action would be nationwide strike.
After the meeting they will be having with federal government today.
Even the chairman of ASU said the federal government did not invite them. It was the Minister for Labor, Minister for Education, and the people from Revenue Allocation and the Physical Mission will be having the meeting.
The president is in Brazil as we speak. So
yes, but his aides, his ministers, and what have you will be meeting. And as you said, we are not invited. That was their position. So my concern is that we should be able to do things that will not hinder the success of our students in the universities. Because when this strike happened, I remember what happened during the COVID-19. People who were supposed to spend 4 years in the university end up spending 5 years.
Some even 6.
Okay, it's unfortunate. So let's try and see if they can resolve these, imbalances.
Okay, let's see if they can resolve these imbalances so that we definitely can have our educational system. We're not just talking about us this time around. We're talking about holistically Nigerian educational system. Sincerely speaking, there needs to be a very... JAM had their own issue not too long ago. So, you understand? The secondary school educational system was more like brought to disrepute and the rest of it all, because this WAEC that we are having in this part of the world, it's being held in Sierra Leone, it's being held in Liberia, it's being held in Ghana and the rest of it all. They don't have these glitches that we do have here. They don't have this expo. You understand? They will say, okay, fine, we are not going to be releasing this this result because we suspect that our students had, will I say,
access
to the result. How would students have access to question papers?
Okay, who leaked the
question papers? And this thing is a West African examination council. But Nigeria seems to be having its own issues. So I think, while ASU, they are speaking for themselves, I think they should equally bring the minister, the JAM registrar, everybody. Let us have a holistic table discussing the future, because any country that fails to invest in education is already planning to fail. That's doom. Now, quickly, before we go for the next review, we heard our former president here talking. Yes. That's Jonathan demanding credible INEC chair in preparation, you understand, for the next general election, and now says these defections and the rest of it all, is it actually necessary?
I am happy that it is coming from a former president of Nigeria. In the act of mass communication, in the practice of mass communication, there is something they call the source credibility.
Yeah.
When something is coming from a source that is dependable and reliable, you can say this is verifiable because of the source it's coming from. Jonathan has tested that position, and that is why I align with everything he said. One of the things he said was that the appointment of the INEC chairman, should be reviewed.
Is it the appointment only or the job? You understand? Activities of even the INEC chairman.
Every activity
exactly surrounding the young man
should be reviewed. And he said this issue of cross-carpeting should also be monitored. But there are laws already that dealt with the situation. Our problem is poor implementation. There was a law that said that if you leave the party that gave you
a mandate
to the other party, you lose your position. You remember the case in River State? Do you understand?
Yeah.
But there is also a lacuna within that law that says that internal political crisis, unresolved internal political crisis, could give somebody access to cross-carpet. That means that lacuna has given some politicians who jump from
a leverage to jump from.
So I think Jonathan made an important point there, but there was a law already. But the issue is that there is also a lacuna that gave them the leverage, unless that law should be strengthened and then that lacuna removed. Everything he said is true, because as we are treating towards 2027, what happened in 2023
has not been resolved.
Is also going to replicate.
Of course.
What happened in 2015 is also going to replicate. I have not seen anything that could change the situation. The worst was that in 2023 we were asked that the beavers will be used and the result transmitted using the IREF. In some places, it was not so, especially in River State and some other parts of the country. So I think what is important is for us to have a genuine transformation where all the stakeholders will come together and say, let us have a electoral process that can serve the interest of the masses, irrespective of who is benefiting.
All right. Well, let's see what the benefit the Vanguard newspaper has for us this morning. And then we'll start the review with the news making rounds on the mast of the Vanguard newspaper. Capital market surge power proves investor confidence in Nigeria's reform. That's coming from the president. We've seen Jonathan slams defection, seeks electoral reforms. Federal government ASU meets today. Alausa leads push to resolve issues. Uzodinma raises minimum wage to 104,000 naira. Imo workers jubilate. 2027 presidency, and that's the banner headline of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. As zoning causes rumpus, PDP intensifies move to woo Jonathan. Wow. Let's see how that goes out. Ex-president still consulting. That's sources. PDP zoning decision won't stand. That's coming from Oluwakpo Ashim. Zoning presidency to South, not to glorify Wike. That's PDP. It's sacrifice for unity, Bala Muhammad. Those are all Nigerian politicians throwing in their weights there. 762 Nigerians killed by kidnappers in 1 year. That's coming from report. Presidency, NCA, police headquarters, NCTC, keep mum. Why would you be keeping mum? Vote apathy, aids bad leaders, can want Nigerians. And then we have here, await full briefing on Abuja-Kaduna train disaster. That's coming from the president too. 2027, our presidential ticket open despite endorsing Tinubu. That's coming from APC. Open to who? 2026 World Cup qualifier. Super Eagles will prove doubters wrong. I don't believe in the Super Eagles. I prefer, if I had it from Super Falcons, I probably would have taken it with with seriousness, but not Super Eagles. Then let's see what we have for you on the Guardian newspaper, and then see quickly how waning funding legal aid keep 53,460 pre-trial inmates in jail. And that's the banner headline on the Guardian newspaper, corrections and penal reforms. Then we also have here, let me see if I can capture the little graphics here. Out of 81,000 total inmates in Nigerian correctional facilities, 53,460 persons are awaiting trial. Lack of regular visits to correctional centers to access the circumstances of the detention of indigent citizens awaiting trial by the industry-specific NGOs, NBA, and the judiciary compound the issues. Amid NBA Human Rights Committee, pro bono services inefficient despite over 127,000 lawyers on roll call. That's really, really interesting here. I really don't know where we are going in this country. Alausa moves to resolve ASU crisis as federal government meets union today. Tinubu justifies bitter pills of reform, Lord citizens' patience. The patience, could it be that we've not marched onto the streets? Is that the patience? Ondo joins states banning graduation ceremonies in nursery, junior secondary schools. And then we have here, Igbo leaders demand binding MOU for 2027 support as ABGA backs Tinubu. Tariff hike cuts 2.4 million of internet amid soaring data consumption. And then we have here, Ganduje faces fresh probe over alleged sale of public property. Falana, Ezekwesili, Sule, tax lawyers on socio-economic rights, electoral act. Oshun, at 34, Adeleke scores administration high, once against dirty politics. Let's quickly analyze what stories that we have for you here, talking about the Vanguard and then the Guardian. But let's begin with the Vanguard. Or do you have any other story of interest?
Yes. You see, I laugh when the APC said they have thrown their
presidential
ticket open. Anybody that is interested can contest against Mr. President.
Yeah, that's the primaries.
Yes, and you see, I don't know what he wants people to believe. This is politics. Remember, in 2023, the election that brought Mr. President, so many other persons contested the primary with him.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, towards the starting point of the said primary, so many people started withdrawing their intention and throwing support for Mr. President. Almost about 7 persons.
More than 7.
Or more than 7.
I think so, 27 people.
Yes.
Bought
the form. Almost all of them stepped down for Mr. President.
Except for the notable one was Oshibanji.
Yes. So I think this is a strategy. He's trying to be he's trying to show a true Democrat, you know, and a sportsmanship who wants an open battle, knowing fully well that at the end of the day, they will still step down. So it's not news because we know how it is going to play.
Okay.
Then reacting to, there was another issue that caught my attention. Okay. I don't know what could be their intention, saying that PDP's zoning to South is not to impress Wike, something like that.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, PDP is realizing themselves very late. It is unfortunate. Okay?
Because Atiku is no longer there, so I think maybe that's the reason why this was easy to achieve.
But do you remember that in 2023, one of the issues in contention was that Wike said, in line with the party's constitution, the PDP should zone their presidential ticket to South. And some persons went ahead to violate the constitution and zone to North. Now, they have realized that for them to recover that mandate, it must come from the South. And they're now faced with a dilemma of who will now represent them. I also read where you said, there was one of the story there that they are visiting Jonathan to come back to PDP. He has never left PDP, but since ever his exit in 2015, he has been playing silent game. And they did it because they knew that he's the only person who can only do one tenure constitutionally. Because he had served one before now. But even at that, it is going to be a very Herculean task for him to unseat the present president. Yes.
With these INEC reforms yet to come to play.
Okay, and coupled with the fact that for them to achieve it, they need a coalition. Just like what happened in 2015. PDP as a platform today cannot produce a president without a formidable alliance. I think they are not sincere, because if they are sincere, they would have known that a divided house cannot win a battle.
Of course.
Some members from PDP have gone behind to endorse Mr. President. Why are there still members of the PDP? That's why I said they acted rightly, but in a very late hour.
So you're saying that it's Uhuru for APC.
Good morning, PDP.
Quickly, let's see what we have on the Daily Trust, and if time permits, we can now go back and then review some of the stories that we might have skipped. Quickly, the Daily Trust newspaper is up next for review this morning, and then we have police officer arrested as soldier shot dead in Bauchi. Why ransom business flourishes in Nigeria, that you can read in details there in the Daily Trust newspaper. Jonathan seeks new process for INEC chair emergence. And then we also have here, federal government moves to avert ASU strike. Kidnappers of Katsina couple demand 600 million naira as ransom. We've just talked about 2.5 billion as ransom paid in a year. And then we still have 600 being demanded for just a couple years. Equatorial Guinea president's son convicted for selling national plane. Really? Murder, 3 children die in building collapse. Wow, tragedy. Man allegedly beats wife to death for going to farm late. Wow. Terrible. And let's see the last paper for review this morning before we now begin to delve into stories that we might have missed. 2027, despite endorsing Tinubu, APC throws ticket open. That you'll find as the banner headline on the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government to clear retirees' pension backlogs with 758 billion bond. CBN goes tough on POS operators, orders geotagging of terminals to tackle fraud, increase, and surveillance. And also we have here Ondo State bans elaborate graduation ceremonies for nursery and JSS pupils. Nigeria loses 455 billion naira annually to poor sanitation. 56% of Nigerians living below poverty line. That's coming from the TUC president. And then there's a small story there on health. We have paracetamol, ibuprofen quietly fueling antibiotic resistance, evolving global health problem. That you find on the Nigerian Tribune. And then we have China boosts Nigeria's flood relief efforts with $1 million. Bagudu hails growing trade between both countries there. Now, quickly, let's come back to this issue of how waning fund, lack of fund, is keeping Nigerians, able-bodied Nigerians, behind the bar. 53,460 pre-trial inmates. And I'm sure more than half of that number are purely on innocent ground. It's just a case of being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
You see, it's a very disturbing story, because for you to understand any situation, any bad situation, try to place yourself in that person's shoe. Do you understand? You see, I don't know, there is need for sanitization of our entire system. I don't know why somebody should be under such situation without going through trial, spending such years. And some of them are innocent. They don't even know their fate. You see, I think
and some don't even have the finance, personally, to even hire
lawyers.
A lawyer.
Okay, you see, I think there is need for a review I think there is need for federal government to monitor what is happening in the correction centers. Yeah. It is unfortunate. On several occasions, I've been to one of the correction centers around, around here, and you see, their stories are not palatable. Some will tell you they're innocent, but let them be tried, Let them be tried. Will they only be relieved on the mercy of governors whenever they want to grant amnesty? The other time, Governor Saludo granted amnesty to some of them during his third year anniversary. And it's a welcome development. But what we are trying to say is that let there be a fair play. Let them be granted that access to, fair play.
So what happens to the 127,000 lawyers on roll call for pro bono services?
Do they even do it? They say pro bono is something you do for
free.
For free.
And they said 127,000 lawyers are on the roll call. So how do we have 127,000 lawyers on pro bono services? And we are having 53,400.
It is possible, but the question is, do you think all of these inmates have access to these lawyers on pro bono? Do you think they have access to them? Do you think
I was thinking that the correctional services will be the one that will link them to these pro bono lawyers.
We are talking as if we don't know the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria. Do you think they can give you that access for free? Do you think there is something you don't need to do? It's a challenge, but it is better that the government will hear it and then see how they can, investigate what is happening in our correction centers.
Now, let's tie these two stories together. Uzodinma recently, that's the governor of Imo State, recently banned the celebration of sales of textbooks by schools, and then this elaborate graduation. You see a child in primary 1 going to primary 2. You will be a king. This one will be a princess, and the rest of it all. He banned that. And recently, he was saying that Imo State civil servants will be jumping up with 104,000 naira pay package.
When you see a good move from anybody, irrespective of any camp he belongs to, you need to appreciate it. Just like whenever there is any good, development from here, we'll talk about it. People will say it's because we're APGA. Do you understand? I can't just because I'm APGA, I cannot say something that is good the governor is doing, because if I say they say it's because I'm APGA. I also want to commend the governor of Imo State.
But he's not APGA.
No, he's APC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So they should know that I support APGA when I know that they're doing well. I also support APC when they have gotten it right. The elaborate parties are, some
for nursery schools. I'm not talking about
especially the private school. It is not good. We are putting so many families under pressure. Everybody doesn't have that equal capacity. And because you are doing for a child, the other person's child will say, Mommy, this person is doing this, and they will also expect you to do that. Then on the side of textbooks, he said, the textbook used by the senior will also be used by the junior, provided it is in
good shape. The curriculum of the state. So
why, after buying for this person, you went on to buy for the other person the same textbook, the same curriculum, the same thing? So I think what he did is to relieve parents from the current economic bastardo. We are passing through precarious economic situation in Nigeria. It is only very few who doesn't feel the heat.
Yeah, very, very
few. Even those who are not feeling the heat, the pressure from those who are feeling the heat is also pressurizing them. So to make it fair, it is good to apply this kind of strategy. So I commend the governor of Imo State for coming up with this strategy in schools.
Knowing that we are even going to be by September now, schools will resume.
Everybody has their own approach. This is his own approach. Governor Solo's approach was to declare free education.
Across board.
You see, they have similarities in their policies as regards to education. Then, coming to the issue of minimum wage, he raised to 104.
Yeah.
He should also be commended. Knowing fully well that even if you pay 200,000, considering the economic reality today, it will still not be enough. But what is important is that you are taking it up. It is now left for the civil servants to manage what they have based on what is available. So I commend him for that, for uplifting their standard of living, because maybe before now it could be around 90 or 80, extending it to 104 will give them some level of relief. So it is a welcome development.
Let's take this story before we call it a wrap. CBN goes tough on POS operators, orders geotagging of terminals to tackle fraud and increase surveillance. Whilst the CBN is talking this stuff, I will equally implore that the CBN make this cash available. Tell the banks to make this cash available at their various ATM, vending machine, so that Nigerians can have access to this. The risk of doing business, you understand, with this POS is very, very high. Some of these people are just fraud centers waiting for gullible, or will I say unsuspecting Nigerians, you understand, to hack into their account. What's your take on that?
Yes, the proliferation of POS centers, in the recent time, has begun to give a sense of worry. Do you understand? The sudden proliferation of POS centers, I begin to ask, what is there anything underground? I discover that it is a lucrative business, though unmonitored. That is why I'm having...
A lucrative business for who? For Nigerians as a
no, for
job?
Those operators. Those POS operators. It's a lucrative business for them. Because for you to take 10,000 naira, they will tell you the charge is 300. And before you know it, they must have taken it before telling you. You'll be agitating. I thought it's 200. They said, no, there's no cash. But they go to bank and get that cash. Bank gives them cash. Sometimes they do business with some bankers. Some bankers will say there's no cash, but they will give this money to POS, who give them something.
So how come POS usually will have? Because recently I traveled. I was in Lagos for holidays, and I needed cash.
Yes.
So I just crossed the bridge. Lagos pedestrian bridge.
Yes,
everywhere.
it's much.
You understand? I just went in to withdraw money. I got there. Before even getting to the place, the security man said that there's no cash. This was in the evening. Okay. To my amazement, he directed me to a POS where I would go.
Okay. Have you affirmed what I'm saying?
I was now wondering. I didn't have time to start asking him, why won't there be cash here? Because he's a security man. I don't expect him to have answered to that question. But he now said, Oga, you need money. I said, yes. He said, get one POS way down the street there.
Okay. It's a combined business. But you see, my interest here is that the federal government, the CBN said, they need to monitor the activities. They need to know there's need for coordinated activities. They said they should use GPS to know their locations, to know where each of these people are operating from. Even the POS operators, they also face risk. Because on several occasions, these armed robbers have got to attack them. So there are so many things to regulate as far as our financial life is concerned. But bankers have deal with some of these POS. There's no way the banks will not have money, but POS will have money.
Well, that's it. There's no way. Somebody needs to tell us what's actually happening here, because Nigeria, this is Nigerian currency we're talking about. It shouldn't be that scarce for us to make use of and then be transacting with. Well, on that note, we shall be we're ending this session. That's the press review on Good Morning Anambra this morning. I want to thank you, Dominic Okabwe, for making our time to be here to delve into the papers that we have reviewed. Thank you so much, Dominic.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and to you, Onye, Nigeria, Anambra, go out there, pick these papers, read, and then get to equip yourself with things that are happening in and within your country. It will serve you really well. Well, let's get set for the next segment that we have this morning. And we want to be talking about climate change this morning. Don't go anywhere, because it concerns you and I. The show continues after this time out.